Hi, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and Geo Collaborate. It's Monday, December 8th, 2025. This is an update for the All Hazards Consortium, the sensitive information sharing environment where we share information and data across platforms and sectors to improve situational awareness and decision making. We have three areas I'm going to focus on today. I'm going to try to keep this shorter than yesterday. The first one being the intense atmospheric river. You can really see it lined up now, almost like a fire hose of Pacific moisture impacting the Pacific Northwest. We are going to see this pattern continue for the next several days, and there are a lot of advisories, particularly flood watches in effect, that'll continue throughout this area in the Pacific Northwest for the next several days. As a matter of fact, here's Washington and Oregon. We have flood watches that'll continue likely through Thursday evening. The second issue I'm going to talk about is the dense fog that has been plaguing the entire Central Valley of California. Let me show you what that looks like. You can see that right down here. Look at this. This is called Tuly fog, also known as radiation fog. It's the same thing. It has been a very stable environment there with moisture on the ground and then warming temperatures above. So it really keeps that fog locked in there. Matter of fact, in San Francisco, flights have been delayed up to 36 minutes to an hour or more because of this fog. The aircraft are having to be spaced longer. So if you have any plans during the week and you have to get out to San Francisco, plan accordingly because this fog is going to be persistent. Let me show you what it looks like from the standpoint of the 1 minute imagery. We'll get here a little bit closer. This is an image every minute from the GOES West satellite. You can really see that fog. Boy, it is not going anywhere. It is just baked right in there, and it's only about 800 to 1,000 feet high. And so that means that you can see the mountains here, the ridges, the foothills. They're starting to go up to the mountains. And so it's not really getting much higher. The mountain tops, really beautiful day. They can look down and see all that fog happening below. And here is San Francisco Bay right in here. You can see this, and this is where the planes try to land, right in here to come into San Francisco, and that fog is playing havoc with the visibilities. Visibilities can go from nearly unlimited until you hit this fog here, and then it get down to about a quarter or an eighth of a mile. It's very dangerous when you're driving, and you can come upon it very quickly. So that fog is going to continue in this pattern as long as that ridiculously resilient high pressure system over the southwest of California, over the Pacific Ocean, continues because it's forcing all of that precipitation. I'll go back here to the wide view here. All of this moisture is being forced up and around that high pressure system and into the Pacific Northwest. So we're going to see that coming on in here and continuing. This is British Columbia here. As a matter of fact, I have another 1 minute satellite image loop I want to show you, and that is of the strong low pressure system to the north. Look at this. This is British Columbia. This is a little further to the north. Look at the stream of moisture down here to the south, but this is the low pressure system that is making this moisture head in this direction, along with that high pressure off the California coast. It's kind of squeezing that in. Here's the total precipitable water, and boy, you can see it. It's really moving to the north. There is that huge area of atmospheric river, and that is just coming together here as a fire hose right into Oregon and Washington. It's going to cause quite a bit of flooding. That's why we have those flood watches in effect, like right about here, all the way to the coastline. And we have plenty of wind as well. Big waves are pounding the Pacific Northwest right now. And that fetch, look at that, all the way past Hawaii. These winds and the moisture is streaming up in this direction. So for an extended period of time, we're going to be talking about the Pacific Northwest And the flood threats, the wind threats, at least through midnight tonight on the west of the Willamette Valley, actually, and along the coastline, we could see wind gusts 45 to 50 miles per hour. In the Willamette Valley, it looks like it'll be a little bit less, but there is still a wind advisory where winds could gust at times 35 miles per hour or so, but the big impact is going to be just to the west there of the valley. But we do have a lot of tropical moisture down here to the south, and indeed, that's what's bringing it up. Back to that long satellite picture here. Let me drag this over just a little bit so you can see just how far that goes. There's the end of it, and look at that little low pressure system that is spinning there, forcing more moisture along the northern part of this atmospheric river. But this is the definition, folks. Atmospheric river at its best or worst, depending on how you look at it, with this stream of moisture continuing into that area. Now, we could have flooding of low-lying areas, some towns that are along the rivers. They're going to start to build up with their levels as the rain falls. And the other thing that this system is doing is it's bringing in warm temperatures. You see the tropical nature, the tropical source of this imagery. I can drag the image up a little bit further here so you can see Hawaii. There's Hawaii. Look at that. And so this moisture has tropical origins. That means that the freezing levels are higher, very high. As a matter of fact, we're not going to see much in the way of snow until you get to the really high elevations, like, Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, way up there, where you might see some snow, and it's going to be wet, sloppy, heavy snow. But below that level, below 7,000 feet, we're talking rain, and that rain is going to move right down the mountains into the tributaries and into the mainstream rivers. And then those rivers will start to rise. So pay close attention to the National Weather Service watches, warnings, and advisories and what's happening there, because you could find yourself in a dangerous place after you get 1 inch, 2, 3 inches of rain. And you could also see mudslides and debris flows from where wildfires have happened. It just doesn't have to be the wildfires from the last year or two. It could be a wildfire burn scar back 5, even 10 years, where the vegetation hasn't grown back to really hold the soil from this heavy rain. The third area of focus today is the snow that has been falling over West Virginia, and North Carolina today. This is about the extent of the snow area right in here. And that is causing quite a bit of delays and tough driving conditions. Matter of fact, Richmond, Virginia, you may end up with 3 to 6 inches of snow when this is all said and done. Here is Richmond right here. Nothing in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Annapolis, up towards Philadelphia. Nothing there, but we do have this low pressure system that's riding out this way off the coast. You can see how strong the jet stream is. It's not going to be a coast rider. It's not going to go up the coast. It's going to go right out to sea. But this is the area where most of the precipitation is falling right now. As a matter of fact, here's the radar data from the National Weather Service and MRMS. This is the multi-radar, multi-sensor system. So we're combining not just radar data, but observations as well. And you can see these observations around here. Snow that's been falling for most of the day. Look at this. Nothing in the Washington, D.C. area. Maybe some flakes falling across southern St. Mary's or some Charles, a little bit of Charles County, really kind of stopping as you get to the Maryland border here, coming out of Virginia's eastern shore. But this is causing slipperiness. Roads are being treated. People are out shoveling. 3 to 6 inches looks like to be the total in this area here. And then down in North Carolina, around Raleigh here, we're talking about 1 inch to perhaps 2 inches of snow in some areas. So it's reminding people that Christmas is right around the corner and winter is here. Remember, meteorological winter started on December 1st. We keep those winter records December 1st through January and February. So December, January, February, the winter months meteorologically, and then spring starts, meteorological spring, on March 1st. But even back in West Virginia, you can see the snow still falling here, and that's causing slipperiness as well. But needless to say, this is not going to impact the Washington and Baltimore areas. We have a northeasterly flow coming down into this area, high pressure to the north, bringing dry air in. If snow wanted to fall, it would evaporate anyway. It wouldn't make it down to the ground. When you see those fuzzy bottoms on the clouds, that's called virga. Okay, taking a look at the next few days, this is the model outlook right now. This is the GFS model. High pressure, I just talked about that, is really dominating here to the north. You can see that over the Great Lakes area. Boy, Chicago, we've been having a lot of clippers coming down. Not really big, heavy snow producers, but boy, you total up the 2, 3, 4-inch snow amounts with periodic clippers coming through, and pretty much you're going to have some snow after a while building up there. But this high pressure system here is throwing cold air down the eastern edge of the mountains. Here's that disturbed area of weather that's moving off the coast, and that's producing this snow. Virginia, share a little bit, will you, with folks in Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. It sure would be nice to get some, but watch what happens with this high pressure system as I put this into motion. And here in the Pacific Northwest, ouch, this is the atmospheric river that's going to be coming in relentlessly for the next several days. As I mentioned, through Thursday, expect areas of flooding, mud flows, and debris flows in some areas in the Pacific Northwest, going down to about central Oregon to the coastal areas there. Meanwhile, California, you're going to remain dry, and boy, that Tuly fog is going to be persistent as well. So let's go ahead and put this into motion and show you what it looks like over the next couple of days here. See that high pressure system? It moves just right over Maine. I'll take the pen off there, and you'll see these little short waves move across. Going to hit Maine with some light snow and flurries. That's going to be on Wednesday morning, but then another low develops and comes down out of Alberta, and that is going to come across the Great Lakes and, yes, produce more snow. Kind of a rain-snow mix to start off with. Some warm advection ahead of that front is going to be making its rain in Indiana and Ohio, parts of Illinois. Then it's going to change to snow, and look at this. Another quick hit for New York, northwestern Pennsylvania. Some lake effect snows perhaps after this one passes through. And even Maine, down east Maine, looks like some rain for you. This is going to be on Thursday morning, early hours of Thursday, but then when the cold air moves in, it's going to dry out and change some of those raindrops to snow flurries. But now we're talking about Thursday, and we have another system that's going to be racing across the Great Lakes with some snows up there. Doesn't look too much in the way of impact. But I'm going to take this backwards here, and you can look at the Pacific Northwest. You can see that moisture coming in there. Look at that, and it's just being drained out, squeezed out by the mountains, and that is going to cause flooding, as we mentioned. That's why the Portland Weather Forecast Office, Seattle Weather Forecast Office, they have flood watches in effect, and also high wind advisories in effect, particularly west of the Willamette Valley and along the coastline there. But look at this, even on Wednesday morning, another round of heavy rain coming in. That's persistent all the way through Thursday. Maybe a little bit of a drying up, but then look at that. Another system comes in over the weekend, particularly in Washington State and northern Oregon. So real windy and wet period coming. Pay close attention to your local emergency management agencies and also the National Weather Service. They're out there to keep you safe and to issue those warnings when those heavy rains come. So please pay close attention to them. And that flood potential up and down the Willamette Valley there, it is for flooding caused by excessive rainfall. It is a strong atmospheric river, and flooding can continue into Thursday after the heaviest rain ends. Where is this flood watch in effect? All locations in northwest Oregon and southwest Washington, and also northern and northwest Washington as well. This comes out of the National Weather Service office in Portland, Oregon. So that's their, what they call their CWA, or their county warning area. But we're talking about flooding along rivers and creeks that drain from the Coast Range, the Willapa Hills, and the Cascades. Flooding in poor drainage, urban, and flood-prone areas. Expect that. If you normally get flooding when you get an inch of rain or so, boy, you're going to see it over the next several days. Landslides may happen in areas of steep terrain, and I mentioned those debris flows over recently burned areas. What can you do? If you live in an area that's historically impacted by flooding, have an action plan to protect your property. Surprise and hope is not something that you want to rely on to keep you safe. Again, do not drive into flooded areas. I don't know how many times we've seen drivers of vehicles and trucks and all that stuff think they have a vehicle that can get through flooded roadways. It isn't happening. You're going to be washed right down into a gully, and you never know whether that road below the water is washed out. And when you try to drive through that flooded roadway, you could be swept right away. Turn around, don't drown. Okay, so that's the update for this afternoon. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. We appreciate you watching. This is for the All Hazards Consortium and the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment stakeholders who have to move goods and services across the country. They coordinate to get utility vehicles into states and areas to restore power quicker. And those private sector liaisons within emergency operations centers within states, we really appreciate you, because you communicate to the private sector what kind of planning the state is going to do so they can alter their routes if a road's going to close, and we can keep that economy moving. That's what it takes. Partnerships. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow with another update.